Hello everyone, peace be with you. Welcome to this Jacko Club's production. Today we are going to be jumping into the much beloved fantastical world of Tamriel. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for being here. Please consider liking, subscribing, and ringing the bell button for notifications if you do. You can find us on various social media platforms linked in the description below. Without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so we are making our way up to the Greybeards. Here we are with Emblem 1. Before the birth of men, the dragons ruled all Mundus. Their word was the voice, and they spoke only for true needs, for the voice could blot out the sky and flood the land. The Greybeards are the preservers, for anyone who does not know, of the ancient dragon lore, a power called the Thuum, which we are climbing to learn about, because we learned from our experience fighting dragons so far that we are something called Dragonborn. We have the ability to use sort of soul power in order to use a power called the voice, which gives us all sorts of abilities. Right now we only have access to unrelenting force, and naturally people have gone to great lengths to preserve knowledge about this. They have and also have connected it to the human experience. Yeah, they have connected the dots that the Thuum is not just about, oh wow, look at that bad boy. The Thuum is not just a power, it is a power that derives from one's soul, and so the state of one's soul is going to play a major impact in just how powerful one is. That power is going to be a derivative of one's character. So naturally, you're going to need things like traditions and history, many, as much things to connect to as possible to deepen that character. These things don't just build, but they enable these things to have a legacy to them, to last the test of time. Wake up every morning, and the same things that hold you up and push you to do better are still there the next day to keep you going. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing that the world has that effect on us. It's not just like a meaningless entity, but it's a player in the grand epic that is the human experience. Who's this guy? Stepping out of that deep jet to... Okay. You visit the Greybeards?
They're not the sort to take visitors, but I never go that high up the path anyway. Some folk who make the trip leave them food or other essentials, but not to make conversation. I like to spend time up here, walk the steps, meditate on the emblems. Doesn't hurt when I bag some game along the way.
Excellent philosophy. Sometimes that's what it takes. I know someone who does a lot of praying in their own life, sometimes to have the time to pray, to meditate on what's going on, what you need to be able to multitask. And in order to do that without diminishing from the experience, learn to sort of weave those two things together, to meditate on what is going on in your life. And doing so, you realize that can often help you build up muscles to bring your values and ways of thinking into your everyday tasks. It's important too, like we were talking about earlier, have those times that be able to step aside and devote your time wholeheartedly to processing something, but other times it's valuable to just go out and get some word application in. We are at 2. Continuing on the story of the Greybeards. I guess the sort of story of Skyrim, more like it. Men were born and spread over the face of Mundus. The dragons presided over the crawling masses. Men were weak then, had no. It is a sad thing that many in their lives don't appreciate just how much things like nature and the physical world can be an aid to the spiritual life. A lot of people look at it as a dichotomy, as a duality, that these things were created by the same person, or of the same person. One is, just like with human beings, they're sort of a part of each other, definitely connected. The only force that controls the world is the creator, and he's expressed himself as essentially the act of Jesus imprinting on blood of Veronica, right? Making his form manifest, and though one may not at any given point, we might just be crawling up his on the beard right now. That doesn't mean that if you step back you could see the whole picture, and so that was an important part. But when every man was made in the image and likeness of God, and to be fully complete, to fully understand him, eventually necessitate an appreciation of the physical world in order to have the full spiritual, and vice versa. They're made to work together and naturally do. Like perfection, if one. Legend, the emblem number 3. The fledgling spirits of men were strong in old times, unafraid to war with dragons and their voices. The dragons only shouted them down and broke their hearts. The Nords had a strong will, but at this point they had not yet learned how to use them. Appeal to the constant human experience of the mind and heart. Another duality there where both are needed. If you knew how to use the Thu'um, not have the passion to use it, it would be just as useless as vice versa. Same thing goes with the spiritual world and the physical world, and the same thing goes with freedom versus security. What we're talking about today is our bigger topic. Question of how much should men be able to create? The idea of security is that you have an end goal in mind, right? And you preserve it. You establish things that contribute to its perpetuation. And the idea of freedom is that you need the idea of freedom is having a space in which to grow.
Keep an eye out for wolves if you're headed up the path to High Hrothgar.
I think it's a little late for that, but will do. And
just a pilgrim.
Who are you?
I'd prefer to leave it at that, if you don't mind.
Or actually, I don't think I need to ask what she's doing. Privacy is an important thing. Number 4. Pine called on Parthenax, who pitied man, or dragon. Together they taught men to use the voice. Then dragon war raged, dragon against tongue. It's in freedom versus security, it's important to recognize that freedom can be an end in of itself. There is something that, a joy that comes with being free, being able to just express oneself, and to act out as one desires in the moment. Do not feel the need to fully, the ability to be spontaneous that way. How does man reconcile that? Should he? We already kind of gone over that they should. Because there are things that are eternal, things that will never change, things that bind us all together in the human experience. But there is also subjectivity to life, a diversity. That we are all just like the different parts of the world, made in slightly different ways, and each represent certain goods in themselves and form a larger whole. In order to do that, recognize that man does not have break off of this for this fight here. Frost troll, so I would assume the fire spell will work, except I just blasted our poor companion. let's make this a little bit easier. Give her a chance to recover from that fire. Yeah, I know you're on my side. I'm sorry.
You think I'm afraid of you?
I'm being careful here not to hit her. Oh, he didn't stand a chance. Good lad. Put up a good fight. He didn't stand a chance. Emblem number 5. Man prevailed, shouting Alduin out of the world, proving for all that their voice was too strong, although their sacrifices were many-fold. So on the freedom security argument, becoming to an important crossroads where we realize that we're dealing not only with a means to an end versus an end, but two ends in of themselves. It's important to ask ourselves, is security a means to an end as well? And the answer to that is also yes. Security kind of represents justice and freedom, man's ability to reconcile things with one another, the ability to step aside and process through complex ideas and emotions, and to do all that entails. You know, logical proof requires many steps along the way, not only the end, and hence the difficulty with freedom. That sometimes those steps are an offense against the end that one has in mind. And so any given society needs to ask itself, you know, how, what are our ends, what are our non-negotiables, what elements are so grave that it cannot be afforded, that one can have the liberty to mess with that. And are there instances where that is even the case? You know, is there instances where one's freedom can infringe upon another's freedom? Are there instances where someone can say something is so objectively wrong it has no place? Emblem number 6. With roaring tongues the Sky Children conquered, founding the first empire with sword and voice, whilst the dragons withdrew from this world. Interesting thing there, that the Stormcloaks, or the Nords I should say, not the Stormcloak. Or many a Nord would not refer to themselves as a Stormcloak. Roaring tongues, the Sky Children, yeah. They regarded themselves as an empire at that time. I don't think they do anymore. They do as a kingdom. There's a difference there. You know, talking about freedom versus security. And a kingdom is primarily concerned with its own matters, whereas an empire has a greater degree of looking out at the rest of the world and imposing a will upon it for both its own sake and sometimes for the sake of that world. Another question of, does one nation have the right to interfere with another? Is it limited to just where they might interact, or are those things the things again that are so universal that it doesn't matter what another does? That is there something that we can just look at someone and say, there's no way they could even, you know, just be misguided. They are just wrong enough that someone needs to step in. Emblem 8. The tongues of Red Mountain went away humbled. Jurgen Windcaller began his 7-year meditation to understand how strong voices could fail. And here that the Empire tried to conquer a neighboring land and failed. Jurgen went to this mountain to meditate on how that could be possible, and we can infer, based off of the things we've already been talking about, that he realized that it's not just about the power itself, but how and why one uses it. Emblem 8. So that's 7, my bad, I made it 8. Jurgen Windcaller chose silence and returned. 17 disputants could not shout him down, so I guess there were 17 other people who would agree with his ideology. Jurgen the Calm built his home for the world. He became a changed man and took on a name, from being Jurgen Windcaller to Jurgen the Calm. Someone who, you know, that's a very neat transition there, because they are pretty, they do have somewhat of a dichotomy, and often dualities are in themselves also there, to be a duality implies that the two things are distinct and opposite. So he's a person who went from being someone who would go about his life constantly calling upon the world to change, bringing about the winds of change, to someone who would bring about peace, who would reconcile things. Someone who would serve the stillness. So, where is the specific answer in the freedom security debate before we get to the tail end of this climb? Well, for one, it's a little bit different in every situation, right? But there is an answer. I think that confidence is something that we all need as humans, right? That's something we don't get a lot of nowadays. But the first and foremost thing for all of us that we need is to understand that there is hope. We can get it right. Even though there may be, what is right may look a little bit different in different circumstances. There is an answer. There is a way to find that balance. And it's somewhat in what I was talking about, that there are certain lines, that because we are ourselves knowable. We do share things in common. We can know that there are some things that are just intrinsically and absolutely wrong. We can learn both from forces outside, but especially those within, which I think is a very rare thing for modern man to do. But being in a game like Skyrim, for example, will give us an appreciation of how this openness allow one to look within oneself, and I think often that is really the best place to find answers to these sorts of things, because those forces are present within us as well. We find that often our freedom, the parts of us that desire freedom, also desire to eventually come to an end, to come to a place of stability. But we still have, even when we do that, a desire to grow, and so we looked for a way to grow, something with sort of a scientific manner, follow a scientific method that has secure boundaries, but it still allows for enough flexibility to achieve a different end. I think the answer, in general, in the rules is sort of a guarded openness. To be constantly testing against oneself, how one feels, what it does, and sticking to an answer. When something is so awfully grave that it can't be messed with, you set that as a boundary and you stick to it, unless something else comes across as so grave that forces you to make a change. Eventually arrive at that conclusion that the answer is not that authority is necessarily more important than liberty, but they are of equal value, and also that individuals and governments are both equally trustable and untrustable, because the reason one is that way is because the way the other is. It's important to have things in a society that push a group forward, and things that keep it the same, that preserve, things that keep everyone have a security of that scientific method. That set the ground rules for how we go about it. But they are all specifically are topics for another time. But for right now, I think it is time we just moved on with finishing this Greybeard arc. Once again, something that's going to need more elaboration in the future. I feel like I could have explained that a lot better if I had had more time to do it, but that's the idea. Like I said, it's all part of the process. We're growing here. Ears all silent. Ears all silent. The Greybeard spoke one name. Viber Septum. Tripling them was summoned to Hrothgar. They blessed and named him Dovahkiin. Drop off. Come on, baby. Come on. Yeah. Here we go. Completed a quest. Hopefully that'll make the Greybeards like us a little bit more. There are risk of that, to be sure. Viewership is true. Minutes here.
So, a dragonborn appears.
And here we are.
At this moment in the turning of the age.
That was a lot. Jurgen might not be the only one caller, except mine might be a little bit warmer. That's alright. Is what it is. Breath. An example of why it can be important to have moments of stillness. Or thinking before. That is. Hopefully that not having done that will allow for more insights onto that process. Always find something good. I trust you. So, Greybeards, yes, I heard your summons.
We will see if you truly have the gift. Show us, Dragonborn. Let us taste of your voice. Do not be afraid.
Taste it?
Your shout will not harm us.
Sure you don't want to just like see it or feel it? No,
Strike us with the
no one
power
else
of
here
your
is like a little bit uncomfortable by... Okay, I guess we are talking about shouts here, so
shout at us. Let us taste
I
of
guess
your
taste is appropriate. That in the eyes and...
Dragonborn, it is you.
No.
Welcome
Interesting
to
response.
Hrothgar.
Well, thank you. You happen to have a coat?
I am Master Angir.
Climb this whole mountain
I
without
speak for the
sleeves.
Greybeards. Now, tell me, Dragonborn, why have you come here?
Not what it means to be a Dragonborn. We don't need to be so direct as to say we're answering summons. Obviously, he knows that. No matter what is what we're doing, but why? Why is the question, not what. I want to find out what it
We are
means to
here
be Dragonborn.
guide you in that pursuit, just as the Greybeards have sought to guide those of the dragon blood that came before you.
You know, I'm not a
You are
Dragonborn.
not the first.
Well, I think I would learn that.
There have been many of the dragon blood since Akatosh first bestowed that gift upon mortal kind. Whether you are the only dragonborn of this age, that is not ours to know. You are the only one that has been revealed thus far. That is all I can say.
So we did read about Tiber Septim on the map, so we have another. I do realize as I'm saying this, I think there was a 10th tablet somewhere. I didn't see it. I just assumed, as most people probably would, that where this giant statue was the end of the climb. But I'm remembering now, I've done this before, there is a 10th, so we'll have to go back out and read that. Urge of an attitude.
Without training,
Um?
you have already
You just
taken
let me
the
go.
steps
Okay.
towards
Oh.
projecting. Sky above, voice within.
So, tell me more about the
We
Greybeards.
study the way of the voice.
Where are you? I came out this way
According
to
to the
see.
teachings of our founder, Jürgen Windcaller. Very few are permitted to study with us here at High Hrothgar. But in your case, Dragonborn, it is a privilege to guide you towards mastery of your voice.
Is the way of the
Voice was a gift of the goddess Kinnereth at the dawn of time. She gave mortals the ability to speak as dragons do. Although this gift has often been misused, the only true use of the voice is for the worship and glory of the gods. True mastery of the voice can only be achieved when your inner spirit is in harmony with your outward actions. In the contemplation of the sky, Kinnereth's domain, and the practice of the voice, we strive to achieve this balance.
So, like I was saying, I have to get better at the eloquence of the approach, but I do happen to know what I'm doing to some extent. Not just the things I'm talking about, but also in doing it with this game. So, right there, we got the summation of everything I was talking about on the way up the mountain, right? That the reason they're here is because they learned that there is a way, so a proper way to channel chaos in the ancient sense, like the one that has a derogatory, a pejorative to it, a pejorative sense. Chaos is just emotion, it's passion. there is a way to order that, and they have it here, and they understand that peace is found in harmony more so than melody. Even a mixing of all the very different that exist within life: the melody of justice, the melody of honor, the melody of glory.
When you shout, you speak in the language of dragons. Thus, your dragon blood gives you an inborn ability to learn words of power. All shouts are made up of 3 words of power. As you master each word, your shout will become progressively stronger. Master Einarth will now teach you roll.
I've seen them
the
like
second word
pop
in
out
unrelenting force.
talk
Roll
to me.
means balance.
We'll come back and finish this conversation.
Combine it with
Alright.
fus.
Keep interjecting this
Force.
because I didn't expect them
Focus your thumb
to cut me
or
off.
roll.
An interesting form of education. So do I just like... Oh, hold on. The other ones were blue. Why was that one orange? And who's gonna clean the floor? I haven't seen a maid here.
But learning
Okay.
a word of power is only the first step. You must unlock its meaning through constant practice in order to use it in a shout. Well, that is how the rest of us learn shouts. As Dragonborn, you can absorb a slain dragon's life force and knowledge directly. As part of your initiation, Master Einarth will allow you to tap into his understanding of roll.
Same thing that they connect memory to life force. Because scientifically, in the parts of the brain, memory is connected to emotion, to the force that exists within oneself. Or energy.
Use your unrelenting force shout to strike the targets as they appear.
Whole thing that science, all those years later, only provided physical confirmation to what we all kind of intuitively, right? Try to figure study of himself.
You learn quickly. Once more.
Watching this now, watching in a post, please let us know if you feel like you have any ideas as to how we can improve the flow, mixing of all the elements we have in here.
Impressive. Your thumb is precise. You show great promise, Dragonborn.
Always appreciate your
We will
input.
perform your
Hope that
next
you enjoy
ritual in
the engagement.
courtyard. Follow Master Borgely. You will now see
Thank you
how
all for
learn
being
a
here.
completely new shout. Master Borgely will teach you Wold, which means whirlwind. Wold.
Okie
You must hear the word within yourself before you can project it into a thumb.
The important thing is figuring out how to, even though we bring in those discussion topics, how to get comfortable making them secondary to the gameplay, right? I also have to get, I guess I have to get the power from somewhere.
Approach Master Borgely.
Oh, here we go. Is that not what he just did? Okay. Couldn't have done them both at once. I guess it is. No? I will take it back. Realizing as I'm saying this that it's a way of the art conveying one of those messages we talked about earlier, the fact that there is on two sides, to an extent, the understanding of a thing and the power behind a thing. He gives us first gives us the understanding, and then he puts the passion behind it. And that itself appeals also to freedom versus security. In this case, he decided to go with security first before giving the passion, because in this case, they fear what could happen if they gave me power of a shout, but the raw power inside of Dragonborn, but without teaching him to express it in a good way
How quickly you can master a new shout.
at some point.
Master Wolfgar will demonstrate
As usual.
whirlwind sprint.
And in the
Then
circumstance.
it will be your turn. Master Borgely. X. Now,
Very nice.
stand next to me. Master Borgely will open the gate. Use your whirlwind sprint to pass through before it closes.
No, we're talking about this now, but can we go back for a second to that coat discussion now that we're out here? Got any more of those gray coats? Ooh, we did it! Look at us! Hold on. The gate's closing. Hey, that's cheating. Did you rig this? I do not need to be advised. Ori.
Your
I
quick
just think
mastery of
I
a
didn't
new
need to.
Thum is
Oh, okay.
astonishing. I'd heard the stories of the abilities of Dragonborn, but to see it for myself.
I feel like it doesn't make sense for me to say I don't know how I do it. He's kind of already explained it to me. This one's pretty arrogant. Even if it's like, by honestly, you think that everyone learns as fast as you have, and you're arrogant, and it could be arrogant in a different way. Arrogant in the sense that you made an assumption based on something that wasn't necessarily true. Because you learn that fast does not objectively mean logically that's how it's going to work for everyone. So that is the case. Adopting part of their mentality, part of their ethos / ego. Freudian word, what understanding of oneself is referred to as the ego. As someone has an inflated ego, they have an inflated sense of self. Logical error there. Best is to just be express gratitude and commitment to moving
You
on.
are now ready
Going.
for your last
What's next?
trial. Retrieve the horn of Jürgen Windcaller, our founder, from his tomb in the ancient fane of Ostengrad. Remain true to the way of the voice, and you will return.
Alright. So we know how to keep going. I do apologize every now and again. I keep like saying what I'm going to say while I click on it, and I should say it before, so that I'm not cutting off their dialogue at all. Now, let's ask them some more questions. What does it mean to be Dragonborn? Elaborate a little bit more on that. Oh my gosh, I just did it again.
Dragons also are able to absorb the power of their slain brethren. Sky, guard you. Dragons have the inborn ability to learn and project their voice. Dragons also are able to absorb the power of their slain brethren. A few mortals are born with similar abilities. Whether a gift or a curse has been a matter of debate down through the centuries. What you have already learned in a few days took even the most gifted of us years to achieve. Some believe that Dragonborn are sent into the world by the gods at times of great need. We will speak more of that later, when you are ready.
Very devout people here. And they come to the same answer that most of humanity does, or all of humanity does. And one does not believe in a god as a person. One still believes in certain forces that make up the laws of nature. Try spend their lives attempting to reconcile their passion with those laws. Where are the dragons returned? Does it have something to do with
No doubt, the appearance of a Dragonborn at this time is not an accident. Your destiny is surely bound up with the return of the dragons. You should focus on honing your voice, and soon your path will be made clear.
Thank you, Master. I will continue.
Good. Then you will be ready for whatever lies ahead.
Give the option to press further, but part of the trust between a master and apprentice is not only that they're going to tell you what you need to know, but not tell you what you need to not know. Accept the fact he recognizes that might be more important, and though if I really needed to, I would push more. I don't see any reason. Now I will assume. we need to learn about the Greybeards. We're about at 9:45, so let's leave that for another time. First, let's go inside and get warm, and then work our way towards signing off. What a great video that was. Hope you'll consider checking out our various other accounts in the description below. We put out uplifting content 7 days a week. Thank you very much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed it. There's a lot more awesome content on the way. May you be there to see it. May God bless and keep you, and may we all live in eternal communion.